The Big Y Shoe Center features Wolverine's all top-grade American-made boots and shoes. Tough and durable outside, yet Wolverine gives pure comfort inside. The Big Y features a huge selection of Wolverine styles for work, hunting, hiking, camping, and safety toe shoes and boots. Shop for the whole family. The Big Y offers Wolverine sizes for men, women, and children. 7 days and evenings each week. What's afoot is Wolverine in the Big Y Shopping Center, Medford.
This is KTVL, Medford, Oregon.
Good evening. I'm Terry Miller along with Hank Henry at NewsCenter 10. Among the items making news tonight, state and federal transportation officials completed a two-day study of the Rogue Valley Transportation District today. That study is the first step in the granting of funds to keep the district operating. That study included a review of the district's maintenance facilities and contracts. The city of Klamath Falls has agreed on a negotiating agreement with Pacific Power and Light Company for the proposed Salt Caves Dam project on the Klamath River. The council agreed on that document during a city council meeting last night.
High winds around Mount St. Helens today kept 3 helicopters bearing scientists from getting close enough to measure the lava dome inside the crater. Meanwhile, shallow, low-frequency earthquakes and a deeper, higher-frequency shock were detected under the volcano earlier today. Scientists say the current eruptive phase is technically continuing. In California, Northern California Assemblyman Stan Statham says he's thrilled Siskiyou and Del Norte counties have taken the federal wild and scenic river issue to court. The counties filed suit in Sacramento yesterday seeking a prohibition of Governor Brown's plan to put several North State rivers into the federal wild and scenic system. Nationally, the captivity of the 52 Americans in Iran has come to the forefront of the American presidential campaign again as a public issue. President Carter, campaigning today, says he believes the war between Iran and Iraq has endangered the captives, said he sees no immediate prospect for their release.
And in other sports, a high school coach from Cincinnati, whose teams of recent years are regarded as America's best, is considered a top prospect to replace Dan Devine of Notre Dame at the end of the season. He's Gary Faust of Moeller High School in Cincinnati. Weather-wise, a layer of smoke and haze continue to hang over the Rogue Valley today. We'll find out if it's going to continue in a moment when we continue with our mystery weatherman of the evening, Marvin Rhodes.
This is NewsCenter 10, prepared each day by Southern Oregon and Northern California's largest television news staff, and reported tonight by Terry Miller, with Hank Henry, George Warren's California Report, Tom McLeod Sports, and from Chicago, Paul Harvey. NewsCenter 10 continues in a moment.
Chocolate, real Hershey's chocolate. That's what you get every time you bake with Hershey's chocolate chips. They're real chips off the old block.
Mach Ford introduces a new world car built in America, the front-wheel drive Ford Escort, with the highest mileage ratings of any compact, foreign or domestic, yet offers more room inside than most. The Escort has one of the most power-efficient engines, independent suspension, front-wheel drive, rack and pinion steering, and in many areas high-strength steel. The new world Ford Escort available at Mach Ford to take on the world.
Well, when the sun came up this morning across most of the nation, it was basically clear skies, is what most people found, except along the northern portion of the United States, right along to the Atlantic coast, where along the north there were some clouds, and of course that brought a little bit of rain to some of the areas, especially in the areas of Montana and Idaho, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in the newscast. But they had some rain and snow showers in Idaho and right across the top of the United States. The Gulf Coast also had some clouds that we're continuing to blow out this afternoon to the Atlantic Ocean, and that went right across Florida. And we'll take a look at some of the temperatures now for the eastern part of the United States. Boston had a temperature of 56 degrees, 66 in New York, 75 in Washington, D.C., Atlanta 68, 87 in Miami, New Orleans 72, 76, 59 in Chicago, 55, 53 degrees, and up along here in North Dakota, Bismarck, 46 degrees, 63 degrees in the center part of the United States. 77 degrees was the temperature in wherever that was, Dallas, Texas. Let's take a look at the eastern satellite photo from way up above, and you can take a look and you can see exactly what I was talking about, where the clouds are going right across there from the Gulf Coast. You'll see them go right across to the top of Florida, and they're going right out into the Atlantic Ocean. And that was basically about the only amount of cloudiness. You can see the rest of the country, for the most part of the day, was very, very clear, very, very nice. You can also see the clouds along the top as it zooms in there. You can see a really good shot here in just a second of those clouds as they go right across the Florida Panhandle. So it was basically a pretty nice day throughout most of the nation today. As far as it went on the west coast, we're looking for possibly maybe even some clouds or rain by later on in the week. We'll be taking a look here in just a moment at the western satellite photo, and you'll see what exactly is happening as far as the western streams are going aloft, and you'll see that the front that was in here yesterday has moved right across Oregon, and it's out of the way. We'll show you that satellite photo a little bit later on, but it is moving right across just below southwestern Oregon, and it's on into Idaho and Montana, and for the most part Washington and Oregon are just clear. The problem is there was a stagnation advisory that went out early last week, or the latter part of last week, which has been in effect right up until today. They dumped that today. They stopped that today, but they were mainly talking about the northwest part of Oregon. They kind of forgot about southern Oregon because, as you know, southern Oregon and northern California had hazy skies, and those are staying right here with us. Of course, the temperatures will be going down throughout the northern part of the state later on tonight and tomorrow because of no cloud cover, so it should be just a little bit colder. As far as it goes locally, the temperature should be somewhere in the mid-60s, and the low tonight's somewhere right around in the upper 30s, and that's the way it looks weather-wise. We'll continue with more News Center 10 in just a moment.
Announcing a first and a last in the Rogue Valley, and you're the winner either way. Ladies and gentlemen, the most economical and durable Datsuns of all times, the 1981s, are on sale tomorrow. At Auto Martin in Grants Pass, you'll find the best prices of the year on new 1981 Datsuns. But that's not all. The favorite import from last year, the 1980 Datsuns, are on sale too, at final closeout prices. It's the best of both worlds, the first 81s and the last 80s, both on sale tomorrow at Auto Martin in Grants Pass.
Save now at Paulson & Gates store-wide anniversary sale with big savings plus top value stamps. Drive a little and save a lot. From the smallest to the biggest, Sony's got them all. Experience the ultimate, the 26-inch Trinitron with velocity modulation scanning for a vivid, brilliant color picture. Plus the revolutionary Matrix sound system for concert hall realism in your own home. The 1980 Sony, the ultimate in color television. The complete line of Sonys are available at Paulson & Gates, the Appliance King, in Central Point, where they service what they sell.
Well, I hope you saw that sixth and final game of the World Series with the Philadelphia Phillies defeating the Kansas City Royals this evening 4-1. They won the series 4-2. Mike Schmidt was named the most valuable player. Kansas City in the series just simply didn't live up to expectations. They didn't play the ball that apparently they had played during most of the season to carry them to the American League pennant and that big lead in the American League West. Those of you that have those office pools, I'll give you the winning combination. National League 7, American League 3. That's for the total series, total scores. Well, while Alabama reaffirmed its position as the nation's top-ranked collegiate football team, second-ranked USC, tied by Oregon last Saturday, dropped to 8th in the weekly AP poll and to 9th in the UPI poll. Texas is now second in both. Here's a look at the top 10 teams. In the Associated Press prep poll this week in the state of Oregon, Medford Black Tornado again holding down the top spot in the AAA division. In the AA, the Phoenix Pirates have moved up into the number 3 slot. Let's take a look at the standings as they are now in the AAA division. As we said, Medford in the number 1 spot, followed by Lake Ridge and Corvallis tied for the 2nd spot. Sheldon and Eugene in 4th, and Oregon City 5th. In the 6th position, Aloha, Crescent Valley in 7th, Crook County 8th, North Bend at 9th, and Park Rose 10th. In the AA-s, it is number 1, Marist of Eugene, followed by Newport. The Phoenix Pirates are 3rd. Then it's St. Helens 4th, Tillamook 5th. Rainier holds down the number 6 spot, followed by Dayton, and Burns is 8th. Brookings in the number 9 spot, and Coquille 10th. In the Skyline Conference, Phoenix and North Valley have 2-0 records to pace the league. Illinois Valley High School in Cave Junction is fielding a football team after a 2-year absence. Coach Don Goodman of the Illinois Valley High School Cougars says the 1980 season has started a little shaky. We asked him about the problems in restarting a football program.
Well, the first problem was to convince the students that the best way to do it was to build with a frost-off program and then wait another year and go to a junior varsity program, and then after the 3rd year start on another varsity program.
Most of the support for restarting football, did that come from the kids themselves or from the community at large?
Well, I think the business people and the parents had a lot to do. There was a small nucleus of students that were for the beginning of another football program, but I really think that the parents had a major part in that.
What sort of progress has the team made so far this year?
Well, we were on a schedule of goal setting each week and trying to develop different parts of our game, and it's been very successful to date. We've had a few setbacks along the way, and there's been a few of the students that have left the program in the last 2 weeks or so because we didn't have a junior varsity program to enable them to get a lot of playing time. But all in all, I think it's going as we expected it to.
Oregon linebacker Brian Hinkle, who made 10 unassisted tackles and was in on 3 others against heavily favored Southern Cal, was named Pacific 10 Defensive Player of the Week. Oregon held unbeaten Southern Cal to a 7-7 tie. It was the first time this season that the Trojans had been held under 20 points. Hinkle is a senior from Silverdale, Washington, and he's won the weekly Pac-10 honors 4 times in his career with the Ducks. His nomination this week was unanimous. The Ducks play Nevada of Las Vegas at Eugene this Saturday, not the Air Force in Colorado Springs, as we reported last night. Oregon State, still looking for its first win, will be at home in Corvallis against Long Beach State. I'll have more sports later in the news. Terry?
And we'll be back in just a minute with a look at local news when News Center 10 continues for this Tuesday night.
The good news from Wheeler Motors is that we do not mark up our cars with an additional dealer profit sticker, and the factory suggested list price is posted in the window of all the pickups. If you're looking at an imported pickup and it doesn't have a sticker in the window, how do you know you're paying the right price for it? We try and give you the right price, good trade-in value, and excellent after-sales service. So for Toyota, come on over to Wheeler Motors, 6 and K, downtown Grants Pass.
Solar energy. We have to start using it now. Kennedy Fuel offers their expertise in solar installations. This system, combined with the GE heat pump, will help conserve America's precious energy and can reduce energy bills up to 70%. Solar energy can be added to any existing heating system and eligible for substantial state and federal tax credits. Call Kennedy Fuel for a free home survey.
Transportation representatives from both the federal and state levels completed their analysis of the Rogue Valley Transportation District's books today. 3 representatives from the U.S. Department of Transportation and 2 from the State Public Transportation Division left Medford this afternoon. State investigator Eric East.
Now, Mr. East, you have been looking at the problems down here for some time. Can you give us an idea from your point of view, what are some of the reasons for the problems that have erupted here?
Well, I think that probably a major factor has been their practice of operating pretty close to their margin. They have been been very committed to receiving funds on a given schedule, and some of those funds are not available when they expected them to be.
The federal government has promised to forward some $40,000 to the district by November 7th. That's half the amount originally set aside for RVTD. Federal investigator Elton Chang says he expects a decision on the additional $40,000 by the end of the week. Meanwhile, the newly appointed RVTD manager, John Newell, says with or without the additional $40,000, the district's finances are going to be tight for many months. A plan to form a parking district in downtown Grants Pass could be revived. A vacant lot on G Street, where the Grants Pass Hotel used to stand, is again being considered as a possible parking lot. Jack Brownell, who used to own the site and is now one of 6 member corporations owning the lot, says parking is his first choice for the property. He says other corporation members may not share his preference, and they'd probably be willing to sell the site if they received a good offer. But he says he'll push for a parking district, and whatever happens, the site will not remain vacant very long.
Klamath Falls School Superintendent Dr. Earl Ferguson says the district's scholastic aptitude test scores are the lowest they've ever been. Not only lower than the state average, but 10 to 15 points lower than previous scores in the district. Dr. Ferguson says he'll make some minor changes.
We have, as long as we've had the SAT scores, generally scored 15 to 20 points above the state averages, above the Western, above the national. And we intend to do a little better job with our students as far as preparing them for taking the exams, exposing them to booklets that are available in which to do that. We do not intend to make any changes in our curriculum because the SAT scores are only just a very small judge of a school district's curriculum, and so many factors can cause those to vary by 10 or 12 or 15 points.
Ferguson also says he plans to investigate the possibility of a 3-year serial levy to renovate Klamath Union High School and other schools. Even though the high school is 50 years old, he says the structure could be used for another 30 years. Last-minute moves in Cave Junction to save the police department received a boost today from the Chamber of Commerce. NewsCenter 10's Jim Greenhoff has a report on that and the mood in the city about to lose its police.
$1,000 by next month to keep the police going till next fiscal year. Chamber of Commerce, a powerful civic group in Cave Junction, today pledged its full support and $500 to the effort.
Well, I think in seeing the people here and the chamber that they won't have any problems with it. They'll raise the money.
Cave Junction's police cars spend most of the time these days parked down at City Hall. As Police Chief John Peterson puts it, there's not much point in issuing tickets and citations when next month there will be no police department to follow through on the prosecution.
There's mixed feeling in Cave Junction on the likely demise of the 6-man police department. We talked to a school official and a business owner for different perspectives.
The main thing is that I do not feel that we'll get the action that we've gotten in the past.
The next 10 days will decide whether the citizens of Cave Junction want their police department badly enough to raise the $58,000 necessary to keep at least part of it open. But even if they don't, with the sheriff's office substation based here in Cave Junction, it's unlikely the city will totally descend into anarchy. Jim Greenhoff, NewsCenter 10, Cave Junction.
In Klamath Country, people love the front-wheel drive Honda car. Maybe you've noticed. There must be reasons. Honda quality, sensible price, economy, style and luxury, you bet. But there's more. There's Cascade Honda, a professional sales team in the Basin's finest service after the sale. You get what you really want at Cascade Honda.
You get what you want at Cascade Honda. Come on, get what you want at Cascade Honda.
2810 Washburn Way, Klamath Falls.
Emergency vehicles must go when they're needed, every time.
When we need service, we need it fast. ATS is fast, and we're extremely happy with their service.
If our transmission doesn't work, we don't go. ATS keeps us going.
Their communities depend on them, and they depend on automatic transmission service. The people who must depend on their automatics are satisfied with automatic transmission service at the Big Y intersection, Medford, ATS. You'll be satisfied too.
Siskiyou and Del Norte counties, along with a number of other groups, have filed suit in Sacramento Superior Court seeking prohibition of Governor Brown's plan to include several Northern California rivers into the federal wild and scenic river system. The Siskiyou County Board of Supervisors has gone on record opposing the move and last week voted to join Del Norte County in filing the suit. Also named as plaintiffs are the Pacific Lumber Company and the Association of California Water Agencies, among others. The plaintiffs say the draft environmental impact statement for the proposed inclusion fails to provide a realistic assessment of the impacts involved. Northern California Assemblyman Stan Statham, on a campaign swing through Siskiyou County today, said he's happy the two counties have taken the issue to court.
Delighted with the suit because I was extremely disappointed and continue to be so at Governor Brown's action to ask the federal government to take over, in my view, the authority of managing a major resource in California. I want to protect the wild rivers that presently exist. There is only one of them that I would like studied for any kind of possible development, and that's the eel. And I think I might even want to protect that. But I simply don't want the legislature, the governor, the people of California losing some of their authority by having Cecil Andrus, the Interior Secretary, meet Governor Brown's request to take over management and control of our wild rivers.
What about some of the concerns? I know you've stated concerns in the past that you're afraid that the Southern California heavy legislature might just walk all over Northern California and its rights.
And take those rivers anyway. That's a very good concern and a question you should certainly ask. I don't think that will occur as much as it did with the peripheral canal issue itself, because I personally know all of my colleagues in Sacramento, and I'm here to tell you that a number of legislators from Southern California are environmentalists, and they only voted for the peripheral canal because Jerry Brown promised them that he'd try to further protect or wrap into law, in this case the federal government law, the wild and scenic rivers, because they want them to stay the way they are also.
Well, Stan came close to missing his appointments in Wairika today. He had a close call when the airplane he was flying over shot the end of the runway after landing at Mott Field in Dunsmuir. Statham and aide Kent Dagg flew into Dunsmuir on a campaign swing through Siskiyou County. The assemblyman said that after making a perfect landing on the short runway, the brakes on the rented single-engine Piper failed and the plane went off the end of the runway, smashing a wing on a lighted pylon. Statham says he was able to steer the plane over rocks and into a ditch, avoiding a row of trees to the left and a 100-foot embankment to the right. Neither man was injured. A pilot mechanic flew another plane into Dunsmuir and after making repairs was able to take off in the damaged plane. The mechanic found no problems with the brakes and speculated that Statham's cowboy boots had missed the brake pedals. After speaking to the Dunsmuir Rotary, Statham and Dagg continued on to Wairika in the replacement plane. When asked how he felt during the ordeal, Statham joked, "It was the first time in 6 months my mind was totally void of state issues." Modoc County Hospital Administrator Dwight Ogburn says the county's 2 medical centers could run into some serious financial difficulties this year. Ogburn told the Board of Supervisors yesterday the hospital reserve fund is depleted and both the Cedarville and Alturas medical centers are running in the red. Supervisor John Lasag, noting that many rural counties are leasing their hospitals out to private corporations, suggested that Modoc County consider that alternative. The corporation that is contracted with Modoc County for management of the medical centers has expressed interest in leasing the hospitals. The supervisors did not indicate what action would be taken. Finally tonight, Pacific Gas and Electric Company has chosen the hills of Solano County as the site for its first large-scale wind turbine generator. The turbine is scheduled to go into operation early in 1982. Company officials say it will be capable of generating 2,500 kilowatts in winds above 27.5 miles an hour and is expected to produce 7,400,000 kilowatt hours of electricity a year. That's just a tiny fraction of the 60 billion kilowatt hours PG&E customers use annually. But officials of the utility say the $10 million project is significant because it marks PG&E's initial step in the development of wind as a power resource. And that's the news from California. Terry?
Elsewhere in Oregon, on the political scene today on the Southern Oregon State College campus this morning, 2 candidates for U.S. Congress appeared separately. Republican Mike Fitzgerald first spoke to a room of some 30 students, telling them he's in favor of a strong defense and against federally funded abortions. Several students challenged Fitzgerald's positions on nuclear power and herbicides, but the candidate defended his stand, saying nuclear power is a necessary future energy source and herbicides are essential for proper timber management. Incumbent Congressman Jim Weaver also spoke about timber. He told a room of over 100 students that herbicides are dangerous to human health. He also criticized Weyerhaeuser Company for exporting logs to Japan. He said had those logs stayed at home, they could have greatly helped to keep Oregon mills alive. The 2 appearances are part of a week of political speeches planned for the college. Democrat Jewel Lansing brought her campaign against Republican Treasurer Clay Myers to the Rogue Valley today. Mrs. Lansing, who's the Multnomah County Auditor, says she believes that even though the Treasurer's office is a technical one calling for investment experience, it should continue to be a partisan office.
Well, it probably is less partisan than most other offices, but one of my very strong feelings is the importance of having a loyal opposition. And by having a two-party system and by having a group of people who care that there is someone running for that office, I think it's part of the total Republican, Democratic, statewide political sphere. And to that respect, I think it is important that it be kept partisan.
And be kept in elective office?
Yes, I think so. I think, for instance, if it were appointive, that the voters would never hear about the local government investment pool, for instance, which I'm making one of the main issues of my campaign. If it were appointive and bureaucratic, that would never be brought out. And I think it's important that the voters know about those issues.
The Klamath Falls City Council has agreed on a negotiating agreement with Pacific Power and Light Company for the proposed Salt Caves Dam project. The council took the action last night. However, the actual negotiation for the power produced by the dam won't begin until December. The council toured the dam site today. The Bureau of Land Management still has not made a decision on a controversial proposal by a commercial outfitter to sell its allocation of float permits for the wild and scenic section of the Rogue River. BLM spokesman Brian Robinson says whatever the decision is, it will be unpopular to someone.
And also from the Wilderness Preservation Fund, a joint protest about BLM and Forest Service jointly transferring permits between one commercial outfitter to another. The process has been under review, will be for a few more days. An analysis will be done, a proposed decision will be announced, and then there'll probably be an appeal whichever way we go on it.
So this could be a trial case, a test case, as it were?
Somewhat. Actually, we've had a fairly long-standing tradition, and we've been doing things for a number of years without hearing too much about it. We've got some old questions and mainly some new questions that have come up, and some of the public, at least those protesting on this particular issue, want them returned to the private lottery or don't want us to allow the bartering or profiteering going on a public resource between outfitters.
When the permit system was introduced on the Rogue River, commercial operators who were in business on the river at that time were allocated half of the available permits. The proposed sale of 26 permit allocations to the Alameda County YMCA is the first since the permits were awarded.
We'll be back and take another look at sports with Tom McLeod when NewsCenter 10 continues.
Littrell Stove Company is bursting with red-hot and sizzling deals on wood stoves that save you a lot of money. Money-saving stoves like Timberline, Arrow, Glacier Bay, Sweet Home, and the Earth Stove. Littrell Stove Company not only carries a large selection of wood stoves, but we have mobile home models, fireplace inserts, zero-clearance fireplaces, even stoves that burn crankcase oil. How about an airtight, fuel-efficient wood stove for only $2.99? That's right, just $2.99, but only at Littrell Stove Company, between 3rd and 4th on Bartlett and Medford.
Hornbach's 8th annual Oktoberfest sale is almost kaput, but don't worry, there's still time to make great deals on wunderbar furniture. Like this 6-piece oak dining set, only $7.49, or this nylon velvet sofa, just $2.99, or how about an oak park bench for smooching in the park, only $99. Don't be a pumpkin head. Hurry to Hornbach's Oktoberfest sale, or poof, it's all kaput. After all, who ever heard of a Novemberfest?
Right now, your Volkswagen dealer is making deals that are driving people away in roomy Dasher hatchbacks, elegant Dasher sedans, and economical Dasher diesels, including the best mileage wagons in America. You can get a wide choice of colors and options and drive off with incredible bargains, but you gotta act fast because we don't make an offer like this every year, and when we do, it doesn't last forever.
See luxurious Dashers at fantastic year-end bargain prices at your Volkswagen dealer today.
Glen River Homes. Castlemart calls them the extra homes. Extra strong, extra heavy, extra insulation, as well as extra custom features. Every Glen River is extra wide, 28 feet in fact. Castle Mart invites you to compare Glen River with any mobile home or site-built home. You'll choose the extra prestige and joy in living and get factory rebates plus huge display model discounts. Better deals on extraordinary homes at Castle Mart in Phoenix.
Well, in case you're one of the few that missed it, the Philadelphia Phillies won their first World Series ever this evening. It was a 4-1 victory over the Kansas City Royals, giving the Phillies the series 4-2. Mike Schmidt was named the most valuable player in the series. And for those of you that had those office polls, these are the ones of all total combines. Winning number was National League 7, American League 3. Turning to football, the Oakland Raiders, behind revived quarterback Jim Plunkett, beat the Pittsburgh Steelers last night 45-34. Plunkett passed for 247 yards and 3 touchdowns for Oakland. Terry Bradshaw threw 2 touchdowns and gained 299 yards for Pittsburgh. But he left the game 3 times with injuries, a bruised left shoulder and a jammed right thumb on his throwing hand. For a report, here's Jeff Davis.
Pittsburgh was leading 17-14 midway through the second quarter when Oakland's Cedric Hardman knocked Terry Bradshaw to the ground. Rod Martin took the ball from teammate Willie Jones and ran 34 yards to give the Raiders a 21-17 lead. Bradshaw left for the first of 3 times, this with an injured left arm. A minute and a half remained in the first half when Jim Plunkett avoided a Steeler rush and hit Morris Bradshaw. The 45-yard touchdown made it Oakland 28, Pittsburgh 17. Bradshaw's replacement Cliff Stout brought the Steelers back to 28-24, and this pass to Jim Smith, who put the ball over the goal line as he was falling. Plunkett took charge in the third quarter. He threw down the middle to Cliff Branch, who took it in stride, a 56-yard touchdown to put the Raiders up 35-24. Bradshaw returned and threw his second touchdown pass of the night, covering 36 yards to Theo Bell, who slipped in at the flag to cut the margin to 35-31. With the score 35-34 early in the fourth quarter, Plunkett escaped the Pittsburgh pressure and hit Branch again, a 34-yard touchdown to ensure Oakland's victory. The Steelers lost their second straight game at home, the first time in 10 years, 45-34. Jeff Davis, NBC News.
And the injury list for the Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers continues to grow. Bradshaw is now listed as questionable for their game against Cleveland on Sunday. Middle linebacker Jack Lambert is considered doubtful for the Cleveland game because of strained ligaments in the knee. Defensive end L.C. Greenwood and offensive lineman Ray Penny also were hurt last week, and their status for Sunday will be determined later in the week. Franco Harris, Lynn Swan, and John Stallworth did not play against Oakland. Well, Notre Dame officials are maintaining silence on the identity of the next football coach for the Fighting Irish. Top names on the speculators list to succeed Dan Devine include Harvard's Joe Rustic, Lou Holtz of Arkansas, and now a high school coach from Cincinnati, whose teams of recent years are regarded as America's best. The man is Jerry Faust of Moeller High School. Todd Donahue has more.
Last Friday, Chicago Sun-Times sports writer Bill Gleason reported that Cincinnati Moeller High School football coach Jerry Faust would become the next head coach at Notre Dame. That same article was printed in the Cincinnati Post. No one was more surprised than Faust himself.
To be perfectly honest with you, I've made no formal application for the job at this time, and I've not been contacted by them. I've not signed a contract, and I think it's more newspaper talk at this time.
But you are interested in coaching at Notre Dame?
Well, I think most coaches would be interested in coaching at Notre Dame. I don't think there are too many of them that would turn it down if it was offered to them. So I'm in a line of probably 200-300 people that would like to have the job.
Faust has coached at Moeller for 18 seasons, winning 169 games and 3 national championships. Many of his players have gone on to play for Notre Dame. He admits he would love to coach at Notre Dame and follow in the footsteps of Rockne, Leahy, Parsegian, and Devine. But at this point, rumors that say he will be the next Notre Dame coach are just that, rumors. In Cincinnati, Todd Donahoe reporting for NBC News.
Lee Trevino led the United States to a 9-stroke victory over Europe in the Siga Hotels golf tournament today. Trevino teamed up with Jack Renner for an easy win over a Europeans duo of Severiano Ballesteros of Spain and Baldovino Dasu of Italy. The American team had a score of 208 to 217 for Europe. The World Boxing Council has approved by a vote of 15-2 the WBC welterweight title bout in New Orleans on November the 25th between Roberto Duran and Ray Leonard. Although the papers for the bouts were signed some time ago, the WBC still had to sanction it as a title fight. Duran has the crown, which he took from Sugar Ray in Montreal in June. That's sports for this evening. Terry?
And it's time now to take a look at another look at weather, and here's our weatherman for tonight, Marvin Rhodes.
Well, once again, the skies over Oregon were mostly sunny today, at least partly sunny in some areas, but it seemed to be getting a little better, especially in the northern part of the state, where the air stagnation advisory had been out for all of western Oregon, and then all of a sudden the winds aloft moved that stuff out of the way, and it cleared up in the northern part of the state, the western valleys. But the thing of it was, in southern Oregon and northern California, the air stagnation actually stayed right here with haze and the stuff that was still in the air, as most of the people of the Rogue Valley in northern California could see tonight. Let's take a look at the western satellite and take a look at exactly what happened. You'll see that front moving right on out there, and you'll see that the northern part of the state actually cleared up, going right across there, way down, and look at southern California. That's great. Look at that down there with clear skies, about 77 degrees in Los Angeles this afternoon. Worked out very, very nicely. We'll be taking a look at another satellite photo here in just a second. First of all, let's look at some of the temperatures, the way they were around the state earlier this afternoon. It was 59 degrees in Bend, about 64 in, it was actually 59 in Burns, 64 in Bend. Down along the border, it was in Lakeview 52 degrees, Klamath Falls 63, Siskiyou area 65 to 70 degrees, Alturas 74, Red Bluff 79, Happy Camp 63, Illinois Valley 63, Medford 66, Grants Pass 64. In Grants Pass, 69 was the high today. Low this morning in Grants Pass was about 41 degrees. Roseburg 55, Eugene 64, Salem 61, Portland 61, Astoria 63. On the coast 65 around Newport. Probably the hottest spot in the state was Brookings with a high today of about 70 degrees. So it was actually a very pleasant day throughout most of Oregon and Northern California. Let's take a look now at the satellite photo that was taken this afternoon. The one at about 3 o'clock this morning shows us a front moving in, and we'll see how that progressed later on in the day. This is the front that moved along across Oregon and brought the cloud cover, moved over now into Idaho and into Montana, brought some rain, thunderstorms, up to about 22,000 feet for the thunderstorms. Later this afternoon, you can see how this front moved right on across, cleared out, and it left most of Oregon and Washington entirely clear, except we couldn't tell because of the haze and the air stagnation. But that front has now moved on into Idaho and Montana. We are just totally clear. This is the front to watch now that'll be coming right across. It's kind of coming in a different way, coming across very, very slow. In fact, you can see the way it's formed, just round. And this one is coming in a little bit different than most of them in that it is kind of swinging across here and just kind of oozing in here along the coast around Arcata. This afternoon, actually this being an infrared, it does not show the fog and the haze. It just shows the cloudiness. But from Arcata down to the Bay Area, there was fog, which doesn't show up. Other than that, it was very nice. Long Beach was very warm today, 77 degrees in Los Angeles, as I mentioned, and it looks like it's, with this front, we may have just a little bit of a reprieve for the next day or two, and then by the time we get to Thursday night, watch for some clouds. And then what we may expect by Friday, but don't hold us to it, is you may see just a little bit of rain. We'll check the specific forecasts in just a moment when News Center 10 continues for this night.
I'm Dick McLaughlin, President of Jackson County Federal, and I want to tell you about several of our free services, such as no-fee traveler's checks, free safe deposit boxes for customers that maintain a $5,000 balance in their savings accounts, the convenience of early bird drive-up windows, which open daily at 7:30 a.m., professional yet friendly staff to serve you in each of our 6 convenient locations. And Jackson County Federal is as strong as the people that built the Rogue River Valley.
There's nothing like a solid roof over your head, and nobody like Central Point Plywood to supply it. Central Point Plywood for prices like economy-grade asphalt roofing at just $24.95 a square. Rejects only $12.95. And 90-pound roll roofing, slightly irregular, what a buy at $9.95 a roll. To finish the job, remember roofing supplies along with sound advice at Central Point Plywood. Make it your do-it-yourself center.
Announcing a first and a last in the Rogue Valley, and you're the winner either way. Ladies and gentlemen, the most economical and durable Datsuns of all times, the 1981s, are on sale tomorrow. At Auto Martin in Grants Pass, you'll find the best prices of the year on new 1981 Datsuns. But that's not all. The favorite import from last year, the 1980 Datsuns, are on sale too, at final closeout prices. It's the best of both worlds, the first 81s and the last 80s, both on sale tomorrow at Auto Martin in Grants Pass.
Checking the specific forecasts tonight for the Klamath Basin. Fair skies tonight through tomorrow with some patchy morning fog. Cold temperatures with lows tonight 25 to 30. Tomorrow's high in the Klamath Basin about 60 degrees. Northern California, Wairika's high today 66 degrees, low this morning 42. Mostly fair skies through Wednesday with increasing high clouds Thursday, light winds. Low tonight 38 degrees, high tomorrow 64 in Northern California. On the coast, fair skies tonight and tomorrow with patchy morning fog, increasing clouds tomorrow, lows in the upper 30s to the low 40s, and the highs in the low to upper 60s. And for the Rogue Valley, Medford, Ashland, Grants Pass, and Jacksonville, fair tonight, Wednesday and Thursday, with overnight low temperatures in the low 30s, maybe some local frost in some areas, some of the sheltered areas. High Wednesday in the mid 60s. Thursday's high should be in the upper 60s, and there's virtually no chance of precipitation. That's the weather for you, Terry.
Thank you very much. Turning to national news tonight, the debate about the debate is over. The Carter and Reagan camps agreed tonight to a 90-minute presidential debate in Cleveland, Ohio at 6:30 our time next Tuesday. That's exactly 1 week before the election. The first half of the debate will permit follow-up questions by panelists and candidate rebuttals. The second half will be rebuttals and replies. All subjects will be open for discussion. Reagan and Carter tossed around the subject of the hostages today in their political campaigning. Carter suggested that Reagan was making what he called a political football out of the issue. Reagan accused the president of negotiating in the press for the release of the 52 Americans. Finally in the news tonight, for a lot of people, cooking is a joy, but for some it can be a trying experience. Here's a story about a man who turned a handicap into an asset.
I was talking with a friend. I was in a mood to feel very sorry for myself, lamenting about how it seemed nearly impossible to do anything in the kitchen without breaking, spilling, burning. But my friend was not ready to indulge me with this mood of self-pity. And what he said is, well, are you just going to boil hot dogs for the rest of your life? And that's where the idea for making a cookbook for blind people came into my head.
For 2 years now, Dr. Ralph Reed has been developing innovative techniques for cooking in the dark. Techniques like checking the heat of a flame on the stove by holding his hand above it. The key to his sightless cookery is organization. A place for everything, everything in its place.
You have to be careful not to let well-meaning friends put things away for you, because they will probably put them in a place that they think is better or more obvious or more convenient, and then effectively they will be lost.
Reed easily recalls his first blind cooking success, a fried egg, over easy.
It made me feel like that I could go on from there. I'm not exactly a gourmet cook, even today, and will never be one, but I'm not afraid to experiment, because I know that the worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to spoil something that I'll have to throw away. I'm not going to hurt myself or poison my friends.
Reed's cookbook for the blind is called For the Cook Who Can't Look. It's due for publication in the spring of next year. In Austin, Jim Swift for NBC News.
You've been watching NewsCenter 10 from Broadcast Center, Medford, Oregon. Portions of NewsCenter 10 were on film and videotape. NewsCenter 10 continues tonight at 11 with Terry Miller.